Hi everybody, LG here, and welcome to r/Am I the A-hole? This one's from user VKThrowaway78889. Am I the a-hole for not trying to have a motherly relationship with my stepkids anymore? I have 5 kids, 3 from a previous relationship, 2 from my current marriage. I married my current husband back in 2015 when the kids were all around 13, 12, and 9. In that time, my kids have tried to get to know their steplings and become close. However, my husband's kids have resisted. My husband and I have never pushed family time, and when we took the kids to therapy, the steplings revealed that they didn't see me as a parent and never would. This hurt, but I tried to make an effort to at least be there when needed. The behavior didn't let up, and eventually my kids and I gave up on having a close bond with them. My husband takes his kids on separate outings and trips from my kids and myself, since the steplings usually make things difficult otherwise. He'll still join me and my kids on our outings though. Spring break is coming up, and with things going better for my state, I decided to take the kids, minus the steps, on a trip to see my parents in my home country in Europe, country with few restrictions. The trip was pretty easy to plan as the kids are remote from school and my family has property to stay on, so there was little to worry for hotel and stay. My husband will be staying with the steplings during the week and a half we'll be gone, as he has some paid time off from work. He'll be taking them to his parents' home in Utah. His kids were very unhappy about this and said the trip was unfair and that they shouldn't have to stay here, in the US, while their siblings get to go to Europe with me. They sat down with us and pretty much demanded to be invited to come. I understand that with restrictions came some boredom from being inside and having limited access. However, I explained that their siblings did not want them to come. They asked how I felt, and I told them quite honestly that in the past 6 years, they've gone out of their way to make me feel like I wasn't family. And from that came my lack of interest in building a motherly relationship with them, and that I'd feel better without them there. They called me a bee and said that this was an opportunity to bond with them that I was throwing away. My husband is fine with me taking my kids to Europe and has told me to brush off the comments. However, I can't help feeling like I was harsh in telling them I didn't want to have a motherly relationship. The steplings won't talk to me and are asking their mom to take full custody, which I know hurts my husband more than he lets on. Am I the a-hole for not trying to have that relationship with them anymore? And the community decided that OP is not the a-hole in this one. So now let's move on to the community comments to understand their judgment. Bert the Nerd says, a full load of not the a-hole. They don't want a bond, but only the nice trip. The first rule of any step or remarried relationship is, they are voluntary. You made your efforts, they did not want it. So these are the consequences. The kids are not a-holes for not making bonds, see above, but for trying to force going to the trip. JetPixie13 says, not the a-hole. They were perfectly happy to have separate lives until you planned a family trip to Europe. That's clearly the motivating factor. Unless they show they are also willing to do other things together, they just want a free trip. Information request. What are the kids' ages? OP responds, the steplings are 16 female, 17 male. I met their dad when they were 8 or 9 and married when they were 10 and 11. Baby Bella 92 says, not the a-hole. You tried to bond with them for the last 6 years. They haven't been interested. They don't get to just suddenly be interested to get a trip to Europe. They can't just pick and choose when they want to act like a family. Yeah, I absolutely agree with not the a-hole. You guys know that in most cases when there's a kid involved, I'm always going to be pro-kid when they're at a disadvantage. But these kids are acting like a-holes. They've mistreated OP the whole time, trying to push her away and everything, and now that they're not getting a trip to Europe, because why would she want them there, they're threatening to go and have their mom take full custody, which of course hurts the dad. That's manipulation in my book, and it sucks. I did enjoy how they tried to put this all on OP, that this is an opportunity to bond as a family. Yeah, that's not gonna fly. OP tried for 6 years to have a bond with them and they always refused. So no OP, you're not the a-hole, they are. Now, before we move on to the next post, I'm going to read a compilation of responses that OP gave on this post that gives a lot more context to their relationship. I'm not going to read the comments that OP responded to, I'm just going to read OP's responses. So, before we get started, there are a lot of Redditors that are concerned with OP and her kids traveling to Europe during a pandemic. So I'm going to read a comment that OP made about this. I will probably add an edit, but I've already come to the conclusion that the trip will not be happening this spring. I had no idea about the wait for vaccines. However, I understand the discomfort. You have my word, I won't travel to EU. The kids don't like me or call me mom, which was fine. However, they expressed a deep dislike towards me and my kids, and when we went to therapy, they simply said they didn't care for us like we did them, and that they wanted their dad to be happy, but they didn't want us bugging them. I've offered to do things they like, come to soccer games. I've never skipped on Christmas gifts or birthdays, and I've always offered my time. They've just asked me to leave it alone. I just never pushed. Maybe I should have. I never went into the marriage expecting to be mommy or even second mom. I was happy with them just calling me by my first name. The issue wasn't being treated as a mom, it was being treated kindly as a person. I never pushed, I always gave them that space. I just wanted to be treated well. Mommy was never an end goal for me. Them not coming was simply up to my children in the end. My oldest daughter is very afraid of her stepbrother and becomes antsy around him. And my two young ones don't like how their steplings speak to them. This trip is more for them than for me, and I wasn't going to make them uncomfortable during a time to decompress and be with their grandparents. I feel badly for telling them I gave up and for giving up on them, but I don't regret listening to my kids. My stepson hit my daughter in the face with an Xbox controller. He was 15, she was 13 at that time. After this, we tried therapy again. He, however, said he'd do it again in a heartbeat and refused to apologize. We tried grounding him, but he just got angrier and began to break things and threaten violence. We pulled back after and things calmed down. They don't have to prove anything. They don't owe me anything. I cared less about how they treated me as a mother and more about how they treated me as a person. I was asked not to come to graduations, soccer games, dances, etc. I just thought this was another one of those situations. I still tried, I swear. I gave them money when they asked, I offered rides to friends' houses, I tried to be there. They didn't want me there at all. Now, most of OP's responses are along those lines. She also refers to her husband's ex-wife, how they are friendly and in good terms. And now that you have all that information, what is your take? What would be your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the next post. This one's from user SarahZole77. Am I the a-hole for walking out after how my in-laws responded to my pregnancy announcement? My issues with my in-laws are a bit more complicated than anything else I've ever dealt with. My sister-in-law has two daughters, 5 and 7. I used to babysit for her most of the time. She showed major signs of neglect and lack of love and care for the girls. The girls' dental care and hygiene care was neglected. Education was neglected, and my sister-in-law spent little to no time with the girls. From the way they hugged me, I could tell they weren't getting enough affection and care. The girls are close to my husband, their uncle. He did all he could to help his sister, but he was criticized for being worried about the girls. His sister got involved in troubles, authorities got involved, and the girls were temporarily placed in our custody. My husband wanted to adopt them after his sister was no longer able to care for the girls. My in-laws declined and suggested that we all take turns in caring for the girls and that they belong to their mother. We ended up adopting them. It was an exhausting process, emotionally, physically, financially draining. My in-laws were mad and called my husband a bad brother, accused him of awful things, called him a thief, and said that we went after the girls because we can't have children on our own. We went low contact for over a year, then we made amends. Mother-in-law loves her grandkids and wants to be in their life. Everyone has so far been respectful to me and my husband. His older sister throws comments, but I ignore her. I'm currently pregnant. My husband was thrilled to tell his family. We were invited for dinner. We made the announcement at the dinner table. My older sister-in-law smirked and said, Great. Then asked when me and my husband are going to give the girls back to their mom now that we will be having kids on our own, since this is the reason we took the girls in the first place. Said that I will be too busy with my biological to care for my nieces. I was so mad. The girls were right next to my husband and heard this. I argued with my sister-in-law, mother-in-law got involved. My husband didn't react at all. I got ready and walked out with the girls while he just kept staring at his sister. They then started arguing. Everyone thought I mishandled it and made it worse. Well, the community's judgment on this one is pretty much aligned with common sense, and that is that OP is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments to see why. Dina Drake Lance says, not the a-hole. 1. You adopted the girls. They aren't your nieces. They are your daughters. Get that straight. Adopting relatives is incredibly difficult, so for the court to agree to it, the biological parents had to really mess up. 2. You need to change how you talk about them around the family. If you continue to talk to them at all, they are your daughters in the exact same way the child you are carrying now is. If they can't accept that, go low to no contact. I'm hung up on this because I am adopted, and it would suck to have my parents say that I'm not the same as my brother who is biologically theirs. 3. If they're going to act like this, it may be time for a timeout from his family. They don't get to treat you all like this because someone else messed up. Rice Correct says, not the a-hole. What an awful scenario. You're clearly a great mom to them. Realizing your sister-in-law's comments were horribly inappropriate and especially so right in front of the girls and removing them. I don't even understand how they think you mishandled anything. This is so bizarre. American Girl says, not the a-hole. Removing the children from a combative situation was the right thing to do. They don't need to be exposed to adult conflicts, especially those involving them. You did the right thing. Absolutely agreed. OP, those are your daughters. They're not your nieces anymore. You adopted them. They are your children. I would absolutely go little to no contact with all of them until they apologize. And if the mother-in-law wants to see them and be part of their life, then she should apologize. What do you guys think? What kind of advice would you give OP? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's continue with the next post. This one's from user AITA 790 __. Am I the a-hole for calling the police on my husband? My husband's car doesn't work, and he needs money to get it fixed. He doesn't have enough money. I'm in medicine school and have been getting ready for my exams for a month now. Every month, he and his friends go on a road trip. His car's been sitting in the garage for 3 months now. He asked if he could take my car to take the guys on a road trip since it was his turn to take them. I told him I need the car since I have a weak immune system and public transportation might be risky, and I can't afford to get sick in the middle of my exams. He begged, saying his friends are gonna say he ruined the trip, and our discussion got nowhere. The trip was last week. I had an exam the day of the trip and left at 8 a.m. I had several things to do. I stopped by the coffee shop to use the internet. I arrived at the university at 8:30 and entered the hall getting ready for my exam. After I finished, I spent a few minutes with my friends, then I left. I got to the parking lot and my car wasn't there. I started freaking out, thinking I might have left the door open or something. I called my husband, but he didn't pick up. My friends immediately told me to call the police. I ended up waiting for them to ask me about what happened. The officer said I needed to come to the station to give my statement. I stayed there for 4 hours. Then I was told my car was found. My husband was driving it and was picked up an hour away from where we live. I was shocked and mad. It never occurred to me that he was the one who took it. I went home and waited till he got back. He was upset and didn't want to talk about what he did. The argument started after he said he made a copy of the key and didn't take it till he made sure I arrived for my exam. I yelled at him and told him it was not okay. He caused me to stress out and worry about the car. He told me calling the police was drastic and shouldn't have gotten them involved, but I had no idea he took the car. He said he wanted to text me but forgot. said the trip was ruined and was embarrassed by being picked up by the police while he was with friends. He still thinks that calling the police was an over-the-top reaction, but what was I supposed to do? Well, I don't think it's any surprise to anyone that the community's judgment is that OP is not the a-hole. Now let's go take a look at the top comments to see what they have to say. Full Metal Tata says, not the a-hole, and dump him. He stole your car, let you worry, and can afford to go on a trip with his friends, but not to fix his own car? You deserve better, hun. Go get it. Your humble overlord says, not the a-hole. He literally stole your car like a bratty teenager when you told him no. This should make you seriously reevaluate this relationship. OK Sympathy 6395 says, please, for the love of God, make this person your ex-husband soon. If your partner can't even clear the bar of doesn't steal my car and not the a-hole, obviously. So first things first, OP is definitely not the a-hole in my opinion, and her husband is completely at fault here and fully the a-hole. What really bothers me about his attitude is his reluctance to own up to what he did, and is more worried about being embarrassed in front of his friends than what his wife actually needs. Not only did he copy the car key without permission, but he didn't even disclose he had the copy. He waited until she was inside the university to take the car and didn't tell her. He put her at risk because of her weak immune system, and he needlessly stressed her out. Calling the police was absolutely the appropriate response for OP. The guy didn't even pick up his phone because he knew that what he did was a sucky thing to do. Now, having said all that, I've got a question for you guys. As we saw, the top 3 comments told OP that she should make this guy her ex-husband. Now, we also know this isn't the first time that this community tells the OP that they should leave their spouse or significant other. So I'd like to know your opinion on this particular case. Considering OP is married, is this grounds for divorce or not? Let me know what you think about this in the comment section, and now it's the time that I say thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please go ahead and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Join us, join the community, and of course you can engage with us further in the Discord server, where everybody will be waiting for you. There's a link in the description along with other links that might be interesting for you. And also, once again, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. It's great to know that this content is appreciated. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.